Well, good evening, good morning, good afternoon, wherever time of day you are tuning in from, whatever country, wherever you are. I'm Dr. Jacqueline King, and I am so glad to be with you. And as I always say, we bring exciting people to you doing amazing things. And we are celebrating Women's History Month with these two beautiful and talented women. Sharon Tucker, City Council at Large. I'm City Councilwoman, South Side. And Michelle Chambers, City Councilwoman at Large. And we're in Fort Wayne, Indiana. And these ladies are trailblazers. They are the first. So welcome, ladies. And let me start with you, Sharon. So, first of all, how did you get started in politics and why?
So I actually got started by a friend who asked if I would, but I could share with you that when I was newly divorced, one of the things that I had always wanted to do was get involved in the in a board or a committee, and I had applied, thought that I had been selected and chosen. I now know that it was a game that was being played on me. But you don't know what you don't know until you find out later. And so that was like 2006. And I thought, it's hard to get into this space. And fast forward a couple of years later, I was managing an agency, and one of the young men that I had hired turns out that he was the chair of the Democrat Party. And in just general conversation, I had told him about what had happened to me, and he never let on to who he was. And then about 2 months later, it was almost time for people to start deciding whether or not they were going to run for office the next year. So it was like November. And he'd come down to me and said, would you ever consider running for office? And I thought, oh man, I'm in school. I'm on my last year. I'm not sure that's something that I have time for. But it couldn't have been 2 seconds by the time he turned and walked out of my office, because I went following after him and he hadn't even sat down in his chair yet. And I said, yes, I will. Yes, I will. And so if they had given me the opportunity to be on a board or a committee, I probably wouldn't be here bothering them. But that's
That's
how I got involved.
that's awesome. And you, Mrs. Chambers.
Oh, yes. Council, one moment, Councilman Sharon. Doctor, I didn't know the details of your why, how you got started. All these years, how do I not know that story? That's an awesome
Yeah.
story. My
It
story is
is.
it's a little different. I worked in public service in California for 25 years, and I had the opportunity to just work in economic development, redevelopment, human services. And then within that 25-year career, I was always behind the scenes propping up council members, mayors, and things of that nature. And it really resonated with me early on. I would say my early 30s. I knew that career was in California. I knew that when I moved back home to Fort Wayne, I was going to run for local office because I had been behind the scenes for 25 years. And I
Mhm.
just knew the joy that I could receive being that vessel, being that servant leader to people in the community. So I knew when I moved back to Fort Wayne, I wanted to bring all of my talents that I had learned in working in public service and apply them here locally to Fort Wayne because this is where I hail from originally.
That's both stories are pretty awesome. I know that I've been in politics myself, and I don't talk a whole lot about it, but I did a lot in New Jersey and in North Carolina, just working on campaigns and helping people. So I know it can be challenging, and it can be really cutthroat too. I mean, there's a whole bunch that comes with this. Sharon, how have you managed to get through that? I mean, because I know there are good days and not so good days.
How do we get through it?
Hmm.
Um, I wish I could lie to you and say, oh, I just don't even let any of it bother me, but that would be exactly that, a lie.
Hmm.
Um, I am the type of person, one of the things that I do to navigate hurt, disappointment, and pain, I think all three are different, is I allow myself 24 hours to sulk and or call and talk and talk and talk. And then after 24 hours, I shake off the dust, categorize it, and keep on moving. It's a learned skill. It's a learned skill. And not everybody is capable of doing that. And there are moments of weakness where I think that I have put something down, and then a conversation can happen, and I pick it back up and talk about it again. But I only learned that because part of I'm a faith believer. I believe in God, and part of the sulking and or woe is me, if you would, takes your focus off of God and his victory and glory that he has in for you. So I try not to put too much attention on things that would elevate themselves above the Lord and Savior that I serve.
I love that. And I'm dealing with, well, if you guys follow BW, you know that we're a Christian network anyway. So I am dealing with two Christian women who are both my friends, and I'm honored to call you queens my friends. All right, so Michelle, same question.
I've been very fortunate in that I am able to seek counsel and Councilwoman Tucker. She was elected before me, and which she hasn't had a chance. I don't want to steal her thunder or her story, but her first seat that she held, she was the only woman and the only person of color. So she has really leaned in and taught and shared and given me techniques to deal with those disappointments. When the community, you feel like the community has their foot on your neck, because all we want to do is serve and do well by our community. That's what our mandate is.
Mm-hmm.
God has given us the passion and the desire to love people, right? And
Right.
he has blessed us with the intellect to understand this process called politics. But see, I've been fortunate that I have a mentor in Sharon. I really do. And I would say even more
Be
so.
kind.
No, I do. I really do, Sharon, and a friend as well. And then something that our mentor slash friend, we call him the GOAT, Councilman Glenn Hines. He says, "There's one vote out of hundreds." It doesn't discount the disappointment, but you give yourself a day or two to sulk in that moment or that disappointment, I should say, and then you get up and you go again. But I will say it is critical that you have someone that as a sounding board. That's critically important. Besides, Councilwoman Tucker, I have my husband as well, who is just very quiet. He takes it all in, and then he'll listen to me go on, and then he'll give me a single sentence, and I'm like, oh, okay, well, let us journey. So Councilwoman Tucker, my husband.
Shout out to Dr. Benny. That's
Yeah.
I call him my brother-in-law. But yeah, so dealing with the schedules. I mean, I know. I mean, okay, Sharon. I mean, I see you guys. You're everywhere. How do you do it and maintain a marriage?
I am not. I feel like I'm behind the scenes or behind the time, because I look at Councilwoman Chambers' Facebook page and I'll be like, "Oh my God, when did she sleep? When did she sleep?" But I don't go near as much as I probably should, or as the public would like me to, or as people would invite. I am the public and the communities Monday through Friday, and almost from sun up to sundown. That's because my husband works second shift. And so I feel like I have the freedom to move a little freer through the week. On Saturday and Sunday, I am very choicey on what I say yes to. And if it's an event that I can bring him, then I am more likely to say yes. However, I respect that politics is my thing, it's not his. And so I'm very considerate of making sure that I dedicate time like that to my family. Throughout the day, I run a homeless shelter, and I tell my staff all the time that we can't lose our families trying to save the families that we serve. And I feel the same. It would do me no good to save the 6 districts, all the community work, and lose my family, lose my daughter, lose my husband. So I try to make sure that I'm strategic in making sure we have quality time, even if the quantity doesn't exist.
I love that. I love that. And you, Mrs. Fair, Chambers Fair.
Yeah, it's interesting in that when my husband and I first started dating, he met me with the schedule that I have now. And he met me knowing that I would run for office. I have just always been a person that is very busy. And I am at a lot of places, but I have pulled back and given Sunday my day of rest. I just have to rest sometimes. Yes. So Sunday is my day of rest. I have a husband who's very accommodating, I should say. And I've learned to not pull him out in everything. I ask him to come to those critical events that I need him at. And as Sharon has indicated, he didn't sign up for politics. He knew and he knows he married a politician, but that's not his thing, right? But he is a good support system, my help system.
I love it.
It's really nice that you both have supportive family members, because that really means a lot.
It really,
So
let me just add to I'll close out with this. I can tell the difference because the first time that I ran, I was a single woman. It was just a whole different mentality and a mindset. I definitely having a helpmate, a partner, it's different, a better different.
Right. And you're more considerate of the individual. I've run, like Councilwoman, I've run once or twice single, and I've run 3 times married, and it is different. Good different, but different.
Do you think that you get more support as married women than you did as a single woman?
Support being financial or volunteer?
No, I meant people. I mean people getting behind you.
Well, I could say I get less men volunteers.
Okay, I can always count on Sharon to bring the truth. I love it.
I feel like people take me more seriously. When I first moved here 12 years ago, you know how we are as African American women. Black, I mean, it just don't crack, right? So I was reading way younger than what I was, because I don't know how many people clutched their pearls in their necks when they realized how old I really was. So there was an assumption that I was very young, but I guess I'm more seasoned now that I married a Dr. Fair. Yeah.
So the answer is easier running single or easier running married?
Nothing about running is easy. Your mental health may be stronger because you have your helpmate to come home to and be your sounding board, or just to be there next to you. So nothing about politics is easy, whether you're married or single. That's for me.
All
I
right.
think it's all situational, depending on, because while we do have fabulous spouses, there are some things that we reserve from telling them, because at the end of the day, they are men and we are their women, and they want to protect us. So you have to judge each situation in its own. And I jokingly said, volunteers, when I was single and running, I could flirt a little bit and get folks to sign up to volunteer.
Yeah, girl.
A lot easier. And now I have to pull the flirting back and just only say, come on and do it. Just
get on over here.
So it's situational.
Yeah. I agree.
I love that. Sharon, you have Southside, and every place that I've ever lived in, Southside was always more challenging, lower income. I mean, every place that I've ever known, honestly. So how have you managed to be successful, and you have been, with having the Southside?
It's all relationship. It is all relationship, not just relationship with the community, which is extremely important. You definitely want relationship with the community, but you want relationships with developers, with entrepreneurs, with council members, to support you, because it is, in order to move the needle on an area that has not been the top of priority in the past, you have to start being able to sing a new song, and you have to have people willing to be in the audience to listen. And then you also have people willing to purchase that song. So the message that I delivered, I had people that were willing to help share that message and carry the message. And then we had people who were willing to purchase the message in the terms of investing their dollars into the community. But it's all based on relationship.
Wow. Okay.
Relationship,
Well, you're you're
relationship.
you're doing a great job at relationship building and making it things happen. And Michelle, so you've got everybody.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, I know I've seen you. I can't even talk about the events that I've seen yet because it's too many. How do you handle that? The whole everybody.
Well, the first places I start is that I have a relationship. Now I have a relationship with the council members, with the majority of the council members. So I really get behind and I'm learning what is important to them in their particular districts. So I'll get behind them and I'll support them, do some research or, study with them and learn, what is important to you? How can I get behind you with the relationships that I have established? However, I am at large. So I've had to have legislation that affects the entire city. So I have to be very intentional with my personal legislation that I find that's important for the entire city. A sampling of that is that recently I had the opportunity to change how we look at affordable housing and how we finance affordable housing for affordable housing developers. Well, that is an issue that's affecting the entire city. I will say Councilwoman Tucker's district, unfortunately, Southeast is the place to be. And it's just not for people of color, it's for all people. So what does that mean? It's a bad word, but it's the reality. It could be going to being gentrified where we just have market rate housing, but we still have our young people who need somewhere to live, right? We have seniors that need somewhere to live. So, and this is a national pandemic that we're having when it comes to affordable housing. So that's just a small sampling of some legislation that I worked on in the past to try to help with the affordable housing in Fort Wayne. So when you are at large, you have to think for everyone. But the key is getting behind those council members who represent council districts 1 through 6 and finding a way to be able to support their initiatives as well.
Awesome. So we know that when our first African American president was in office, there were very mixed feelings about the job he did. The black people thought he was supposed to do everything for the black people, and a lot of people really took that to heart. Um, and so Fort Wayne, what are we? 13% African American, something like that. 12, 10, I don't know. What'd you say?
It's 13.
Is it
Really
13? So
like
I got it right the first
20.75,
time.
but
Yeah, how challenging is that to, because you know that the 13%, they think you belong to them for the most part.
Well, we belong to all people. I know,
Uh,
I know for me, like this is how I answer this question. Somebody asked me that question. You are looking at a black woman. I have a black lived experience, starting from poverty, pulling yourself up from your bootstraps, and so forth and so on, right? So my lived experience is of that of an African American woman. It doesn't necessarily makes me more attuned to African American situations or people of color, but I am a woman of color, so I am attuned to that, but I govern for all people. And I've been fortunate thus far. I've had a little pushback on some situations, but because people know us, we're not council people that are not, you can touch us, you can feel us, you can talk to us. We're just the name council people. Yeah, we ran to be council women, but we are the people. We are amongst the people, all people of color, African American, Burmese, Latino, white, whomever. That's the beauty of being a council person. You can choose to put yourself in a cylinder and be in that cylinder. But if you just represent and you govern from a good place, because what I want you to understand about us being a city council person, it's not about pay. I think we make $11.55 an hour, I think. And it's supposed to be part-time. But this really is a
mm.
full-time situation. So it's you just have to try to govern smartly and just be there for everybody.
And Sharon, this is what what term is this for you?
this is my first on the city, and I served 5 years, a term and a year on the county.
Great.
Yeah.
So I'm sure that you all know, um, we kind of took a hit in women in politics this past election. Cheryl Beasley, which everybody thought was a shoo-in, lost, and then our friend Michelle Erica lost, and so did Stacey Abrams lost, and that was a big, huge blow. I mean, how do you guys stay strong in the midst of this? Because what happens if you don't make it? What do you do then? I
Well,
know
you
you're
definitely
unopposed, Sharon. So
you
that
you
really is.
you definitely don't fade away, right? Especially if you plan on coming back again. But it is a real opportunity. I mean, it's just like a basketball game or a football game. Two teams go in and one team will win. So we all have the opportunity of having an outcome that's less desirable. But if we focus on telling our story and telling why it is important that we remain at the table, if we focus on meeting issues that are dinner table topics, conversations that many of our households have and some that we haven't had, if we focus on those issues and stay away from some of the national things, I think that we will be more successful in our 13%, right? Minority community. If you look at Councilwoman Chambers being the first African American woman elected at large at 13%. And of that, you got to take away the ones that don't vote, right? So that meant that her percentage of support was a large number of non African American voters. And so it's an issue base when you get to this level of government for us. And as long as we are telling the story and why we support our citizens, our community, our constituency, then I think we have a greater success at being invited back to the table again, if you would. And yes, while I serve the 6th district, that's my first heart, my first passion, but I care about the city as a whole. So it's important to me to make sure that we're constantly listening and looking, because when we're at that table voting, we're all voting for the issue at hand. We're all voting on the same item, right? And so we want to make sure that we are continuously listening to the messages of our community, of our constituency, so that they can continue to see that these are real women who are African American, but care about real issues and are not afraid to speak truth to power to make sure that we have an opportunity to represent the community.
And I'll just add to that. I'm always running for office. I've never stopped running for office. You just don't get to rest in your seat. We have to work, and we have to work across party lines. We have a 5-4 city council, and 5 of those votes are Republican. So we have to be able to work across party lines so that we can make sure that we are serving, that we are being able to reach all of our constituents. We cannot just lay on the fact that there are 4 Democrats. We always need one more vote, right? So that we're showing as women, and I say this all the time, if people are following city council, since Councilwoman Tucker and I have been added to the council, there's been a shift on council. It used to be a fairly male-dominated situation, and we have really brought a new energy, a change of thought, a change of processes. So I'm very happy with what we've been able to accomplish working across those party lines.
And
And
two
I just
beautiful
say we
queens, I
brought
might add.
laughter too.
Yeah,
What did you say?
a little laughter.
And two beautiful queens, if I can add that. So I'm going to tell you that 133 senators and representatives today identify as Black, Hispanic, Asian American, American Indian, or Alaskan Native, according to Pew Research Center analysis data from the Congressional Research Service. This number has nearly doubled in the 2 decades since the 108th Congress of 2003 and 2005, which had only 67 minority women. That's pretty good. So where do you think we're going with it? First of all, let me ask you, have either one of you ever considered going beyond this? Congress?
No, not for me. I had never considered it before it has not been on my vision board. Now, do other people consider it for me? Sure, but right now I'm still focused locally. I mean, those are great statistics, right? Great, great, great. It's still not reflective of who
It's
we
not.
are as a nation. And my mentor, Shirley Chisholm was the year that I was born in 1969. So we have made some progress, but we still got a whole lot more to go. I'm not shooing away those numbers, but it starts locally. We got to start locally so we can, go up. A lot of people have the attitude that it rolls downhill, but it starts here locally.
Mhm. And Sharon?
I am always thinking about what the future holds for me, especially politically, whether or not I want to run again, whether or not I want to serve in a different capacity. Um, Part of my plight is effectiveness. And as long as I am being effective and there is space for my visions to come to life, then I absolutely will work and serve that way. I just don't believe in sitting idle and holding a seat. So it all is on impact and vision for me.
Yeah.
Well, I commend you, Queens, on doing an amazing job. I'm relatively new to Fort Wayne. I'm pretty excited. You both have gotten me out there, which is I didn't really think that was going to happen because I didn't know anybody when I came here. And I think that you're doing an amazing job. I wish you both success in your next terms because I'm claiming that you're already winners.
Thank
Amen.
And
you.
so, what'd you say?
I said, I receive it. Receive
Yes.
it.
Amen.
Two or
Tell it.
more. I
So
receive it.
each one of you give out because Black Women Power, we have millions of followers, and people may. Here's my thing: I tell people you don't have to live in the city to support the person. If it's somebody that you feel that's going to do a good job, whether you live there or not, you can still support them monetarily. So give out your information on how they can send donations or support you locally or whatever you want to share. Sharon.
Absolutely. Oh,
Oh, sorry.
okay.
Go ahead.
MichelleChambers.info. You will find my donation link there. You will be able to keep up what I'm doing. MichelleChambers.info and all of my social media. You can click there and follow me on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. But it's very simple. MichelleChambers.info. As soon as you land there, you see the donate here button. And what I like to tell people, it takes money to run for office. Fortunately or unfortunately, and every dollar counts. So $5, a dollar, 5,000, 1,000, 125, it doesn't matter. And you may ask yourself, well, I live in Texas. Well, the reality of it is politics starts locally, and we can create waves across this nation by how the way that we legislate here locally. We can set fires under other people in other communities. So I would ask people to donate for me at michellechambers.info.
Thank
Oh,
you.
because we are in primary season. If we didn't ever said that, we are running right now, and I have challengers. So absolutely, this is the time to donate if you're able to donate. MichelleChambers.info. Thank you, Dr. Jackie.
Okay, Sharon.
So I am
You don't need no money. No, just
Oh, shit.
Ooh,
I'm
Dr.
just
Jackie, Dr. Jackie, you're gonna make me take 24 hours. You're gonna make me take 24 hours. No, 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 no. I am at Act Blue, which is the donating site for anybody, but it's the one that Democrats host. But Democrats and Republicans can donate there at Act Blue. Donate 2023. Elect Sharon Tucker. So I am at Act Blue. Elect Sharon Tucker, and you will me to be able to donate there. And Doctor, I know you were joking, but you do bring up a really great point in that because I do have the privilege, pleasure, perhaps, to not have a primary opponent. Individuals ask that question all the time. Well, you don't need any money because you don't have any opponents. But the thing that particularly women are face all the time is that we are always having to campaign to raise funds. We really never get a chance to rest because we're always behind, right? Men can for every $5 that a man earns, we get 50 cents, right? And so we're always trying to think of these dynamic ways to attract women in or attract men in to be able to vote and support our campaign. So yes, I do. I do raise funds and campaign throughout the year, primarily because I have a message that needs to be out. I need the community to know that it is important for me to be at the table, and to remain at the table, and then to have partners with me to be able to support the initiatives that we're bringing forward. It's no good for me to be at the table and people not know why I'm there, but it's even worse for me to be at the table and not have supportive allies like Councilwoman Chambers at the table with me. So, yeah, we still have a message that has to go forward, even though we don't have a opponent. And I say a primary opponent because the opposition has until June 30th to sign somebody in.
Yeah.
Well, I am so proud of you all. My last closing question is for the young women, because I know we're trying to get new, fresh, young people to get involved. And Michelle, what advice would you give a young woman that wants to go into politics, but they have no idea where to start or how to get started?
What I would tell a young woman is begin to volunteer in your community. Get to know your community, get grounded in knowing what is important to you, and what is important to you is important to your community as well. Politics is not for everyone. You don't necessarily have to run for office to create impact in your community, but you can be that servant on a board, on a commission, on a nonprofit board. But should you want to run for local office, know the community that you're running for, begin to serve. A lot of times our young people, they have a passion and they have a desire, but they're not clear on their why. So all I say to young people is be clear on your why you want to serve and why you want to run for office.
Great advice. And you, Sharon?
If I were talking to a young person about running for office, I would ask them a series of questions. How do you feel about going out to eat and not being able to indulge in the entertainment that your friends are indulging in? How do you feel about having people call you throughout the week, the weekend, and sometimes having to forego activities to answer the cry of a community? How do you feel about having someone expect more from you than you are able to give? And if those things can't answer yes, and I am okay with it, then politics may not be the one for them, because it is not, as Councilwoman has said before, it's not for the faint at heart. There are times where you may feel like you're fighting Goliath, and you have to continue to see which stone is the stone that you want to polish to make sure that the initiatives that you have get accomplished. How do you feel about people? Because if you can't influence and negotiate, then politics isn't for you, because that's all politics are, the power to influence individuals to see your perspective, point of view, or value as value to them so that they can give you a supportive vote. And if you're unable to do that, politics is not for you. However, like Councilwoman said, you may be able to work behind the scenes. You may be able to help someone with their marketing, help someone with campaign literature. You may be a personal assistant to someone if that's the degree that you need to go. But if you're not able to take the heat from the front line, then I would encourage you to stand behind someone who can take that heat and help move them forward.
All right. And so Michelle's tagline is people over politics. I know that and Sharon's is don't be a sucker. Vote for
Vote for
Tucker.
Tucker. That's right.
I had to put it out there for the local people in case they don't know. They know now. Thank you, Queens. It's been a pleasure, speaking with you tonight and having you share. Everyone that's locally, please go out and vote. Don't just vote. Vote Chambers and Tucker.
Mhm.
These women have proven that they can get the job done, and proven that they can work with all people, and proven so much more. So um, I'm encouraging all those that follow us, vote for these two queens. Thank you so much. Good
Thank you,
night.
Dr.
God bless you.
Jackie.
Until the next time.
You. Thank you for
Bye.
having us.
Yes.